Oh, wow. Going right in. Huh? No intro, no nothing. I got a manager. I got laid.
Really?
I was the manager. I fucked him. But yeah, good times. And I love Montreal. Just a fun city. And that used to be a fun fest. Now it feels kind of like it's fizzled out. Okay, my parents won't talk to you either. They're a little distant. They just doing their thing. I'm doing my thing. I think so. I mean, I want to say they're good folks.
Yeah,
Never,
same.
never molested. They paid the rent and put food on the table. But I think they're just kind of southern waspy workaholics. They just went to work. We watched Seinfeld at night, and then we did our own thing. I'm Anne Frank. I don't know. I had a bunch of friends. I was never home. I was out skateboarding all day or at a sleepover, so I made it work.
Yeah.
But I never felt like we could talk. We never had a birds and the bees or any of that shit. Yeah, a lot of urine and vomit. We don't believe in streetlights in that city. It's weird because it's like this touristy city where everybody's coming in from Cleveland and all these places. So you'd think you'd light the fucking place up. We'd like to not get mugged, and the crime is through the roof. So, yes, terrifying. We had a house alarm that would go off at like 2 in the morning. And as a 9-year-old, you're like, well, there's somebody in the living room. That's just weird. You know, you're on the second floor and they're below you. Then you come down in the morning to get breakfast before school and the TV's gone.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so it was a little jarring. I think that's why I'm so skittish. But you got used to it, you know, and like when the alarm would go off, we had a connection to the police. Like it would trigger the police, so they would call. And if you said Batman, my parents made the code Batman so us stupid kids could remember it. And so the police would go and you go, Batman, and then we'd hang up and go back to bed. And I think I walked in on a few robberies. Not walked in, but saw them happening. And that was pretty scary. And I think I have a repressed memory, because I think about this all the time.
This is so crazy.
Because our house was so dark and dusty and fucked up that, like, I think I saw a guy at night in like a little tucked away, like hiding, and I think I blocked it out and just went to bed. And now every time I go to my apartment, I have a tiny apartment. I check every closet, I check under the bed. I'm convinced there's a guy in my house. Not really. I have daydreams. Like I'll just think about like somebody knocking on the door, trying to get the door open. We got broken in all the time. It became kind of normal. I mean, our stairwell with this big spiral staircase going up to the second floor, it had no railing. So I would just go every day. Like that was normal. We had a big window with duvetine flapping. It just became normal. So I was a big skateboarder. We built a half pipe in the backyard. Nobody cared. We built like rails and stuff to grind on in the big parlor. We had this huge parlor, and we would just skateboard in the parlor when it was too hot out or at night or whatever. So we could skate in the house. We had a basketball goal in our parlor, so we could play basketball in the house on a hardwood floor. Sleepovers were awesome.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. We'd climb under the house and look around and go on little adventures. I mean, that's what Home Alone's all about, you know? I would wear a cape. I remember I jumped off my balcony because I thought I was a superhero, and I hit my head on my knee on the way down and knocked myself out. A construction worker had to like bring me in the house. It was a whole thing. But I wanted to be a superhero because I wanted to fight crime, because all I knew was crime. The whole neighborhood was dangerous and the house was getting broken into, so I was all in. I had a utility belt I made. I put little pebbles in it like rocks, and I had a slingshot because I had to cope with this horrifying environment. So I wanted to be a superhero really bad, which a lot of comedians I've heard of like want to be superheroes. Yes, Seinfeld's obsessed with Superman.
Yes,
you know,
true.
it's a thing. Whoa, this is getting their attention. Maybe if I do this, I'll get their attention.
Hell yeah.
Get
Respect
approval.
or whatever.
Yeah, suck people in. So, what are you, a Pollock? My mom will do a thing where she won't respond. And it's not in a mean way. She just won't give you any interaction or response. So she'll go, how was your show yesterday? And I'll go, oh, it was great. I got heckled by this guy. He threw a bottle at me. And she'll just stare at you. And you're like, nothing on the bottle? A guy threw a bottle at me. You cannot give me any. So I think also with comedy, the whole thing is response. It's just joke, laugh, joke, laugh. So I love that because I need that response from large groups of people because I didn't get it from them. Oh, I know what you mean, though, because I would go to friends' house and they had pictures of them all over the family photos, and they're at Disney World. I was like, your parents took you to Disney World? That's insane. What kind of parent would carve out like a week to go to Florida? That blew my mind. My parents were just working. We didn't go to Disneyland.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, my dad was always bottomless,
Okay.
walking around the house, just like it was a comfort thing. A lot of male genitalia swinging around the Norman household. Yeah, he's kind of stuck to his own thing. He was like a Dungeons and Dragons goth guy. Like he dealt with it in a different way. I went out and vandalized and got drunk, and he went cocoon. He like stayed in his room, put the black shit on the windows, dyed his hair, wore fingernail painting shit, black fingernails, and just went into like chat rooms, and I went out. He went in.
Okay.
And I like comedy, and he loves numbers, he loves computers, he loves he's a computer programmer now. We're kind of like coworkers, there's love there, but we're so different. I'm goofball and he's serious.
Yeah.
And he's got 2 kids and they live in Wisconsin, and I can get very robotic. I'm a fucking machine. I'm autistic, obviously. So like, you gotta, when the guy's talking, just go, hey, stop talking. Because I used to go, don't ruin your momentum, don't ruin your rhythm, but it's better to just address it. But also, one last thing before we move on, I think you gotta remind yourself, because we've all been there, the stand-up is kind of boring, it's not as fun as it used to be. I used to be a janitor, I used to move furniture, I used to work on a construction site, sweeping up sheetrock. We get to do comedy. You gotta remember that. Even when you're like, I got nothing out of that, it didn't really get me off. Just think, I still get to do it, though. I still get to be a comic and go on the road and tell jokes and do shit like this, where you sit down and talk in front of cameras. You got to be grateful for that. We're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
We're not being too pretentious. We're not like, let me tell you about the art form, and here's how I break down a bit. We're not doing that shit.
No,
but when you get sick of your boyfriend or your husband or whatever you're going with here, and you get sick of him, and then another girl hits on him, and you're kind of like, oh, geez, and you get pissed at her, and then you're like, wait, I like this. This is my guy. Fuck you, bitch. Get out of here, you whore. That's when stand-up. You got to remind yourself, like, I got a good thing here, and I want to keep it. Because when the pandemic hit, it got taken away, I was crushed. I didn't realize how much I relied on it and needed it for a purpose in life and a goal and all that shit. So that was an eye-opener. You got to have a goal, and it's good, when you have that thing where you're like, oh, I have 2 shows tonight, and you kind of get that nervousness, like, oh, shit, I got to, like, kind of prepare or mentally get ready. That's good for people.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to avoid that part of life, that little discomfort. Lean into it, go for it, and you'll be happier after. Otherwise, you're going to just sit online all day, and that's going to make you way more fucked up.
Yeah.
Which is what the whole country's doing, basically. But I'm also filling a hole, and I just love it, and I think, and it also has a lot of people hate me for that.
Why?
Well, they're just because it shames them. They're like, I didn't do any sets. People go, well, he did 3, and you're like, oh, well, fuck that guy. Yeah, same. I went to film school, and I had to write or make this movie at the end of it, and I showed it to my parents, and my mom goes, this is bad. And I remember being like, damn, that hurt like hell, but that still feels familiar.
Like, she can't sing.
God, that's so Finnish. They're very stiff, stoic people. I can do it during a pod because I'm aware I'm on camera, but otherwise I don't like it. Makes sense. My lady wants it in the bedroom, and I can't do it. I look at her nose or her ass or the cat. Well, obviously I hate the airport. I hate the fucking security and all that, but I love being if you got a decent seat, when you're on a flight and you're kind of like, oh, I'm safe here.
Yeah.
Like no one can bother me, no one can call me. I do love that. I'm a big podcast. I'll bring a book. I'll take a nap. I'll watch the movie. I'm like, oh, we got movies. This is great. I feel like a kid again. I feel like, oh, I'm locked in and no one can bother me.
Yeah.
That is kind of nice, which is ironic because I'm in the middle of the sky and I'm like, I feel so safe. But I love the road. I love hotels. I love being in Oklahoma. I love being in Denver. I just like being somewhere else. And we do more as comics than most people do in a year. Like, in a weekend, I mean. Like, we'll go to like 3 different cities. I'll rent a car. I'm doing Montana next weekend. I'm so excited. I get to see Montana. I've never been there. I get to see the mountain ranges. Who the fuck lives in Montana? I'll meet some people. Yeah. And then I go both ways. Sometimes I'll be too hungover and I'm like, fuck Kansas City. I'm closing the curtains and I'm jerking off all day.
Right.
So I have both. Because you do get energy from using energy. Like your body I'm putting poison in my body every night and it's definitely wearing on me. I think it's a come down. It's a treat.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we did all these shows, we sold merch, we shook hands, we took photos. Let's have a fucking cocktail, take the edge off, kick your feet up. Well, I like to feel it. I'm not going to have one, so I want to get a little banged up. I won't go black out. I used to, but I don't do that anymore. But I'll definitely get pretty tuned up. Horrible for the sleeping. Horrible. I mean, you're getting horrible sleep, and then you wake up, your whole next day's ruined. Then you feel shame and sadness and embarrassment. It's just putting gasoline on this already anxious fire I got going on in my head. but I love it. But the alcohol is way worse. So all the shit you're like, oh, weed, it makes your brain age, all that. Alcohol is that times 1,000. So you're good. I do love it, and I know it's horrible for me, and it's definitely ruined me. And a lot, I've had DUIs, I've wrecked cars, I've fist fights, all this horrible shit, said crazy shit I shouldn't have said. But now I've kind of gotten the reins on it a little bit, and I love it so much that I don't abuse it.
Oh, okay.
But it's still bad. So I've definitely slowed down. I used to black out once a week, twice a week maybe, and now I don't black out ever, and I drink only on the weekends.
Oh.
And I think when I have kids, I'm going to cut it out all completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just stay with a friend. He's got 2 kids, and I slept on his couch, and I was drinking every night, and I wanted to kill myself every morning because they're up at 6 a.m., they're pushing you, they're poking you, and you want to be like, get out of here, you fucking, we should have aborted you. But I'm like, just so hungover with kids, it makes you realize, like, I couldn't do this if these were my kids. Yeah, she's a booze hound, which is what we get along. We go out, we drink together. Yeah, it's super fun. And the sex is a sloppy shit show, and we all have a good time. But yeah, again, maybe with the kids, it'll slow it down. Well, I heard of 2 tricks. One from a smart meditative yoga douche. He told me that all these thoughts that are going by, look at it like traffic, and just let the thoughts go by like cars. Don't grab one and think about it. Just go, oh yeah, that is shitty, and let it go by. Look at it like cars on the road. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good, and that does help. And then the 1 breath in, 1 breath out, do that 3 times. That actually helps.
Oh.
So just lay there at night going,
yeah.
and it does help. But I think in this technologically advanced digital world, baby, I think we got to come back to the roots a little. Well, I used to write every day for an hour and change every single day. I was a psycho. When I first started comedy was so hard and I was so bad at it that I would use my lunch break as a janitor, and I would write in the boiler room alone for an hour and not eat, but I would write. And I got some great material out of it, and I kind of learned how to write jokes, but it was tough. Just that motivation, because you want to just go to Subway and get a footlong and fuck a kid, but you gotta go. That was a Subway joke. But and then I was writing every day. When I quit having a day job, I was writing every day, and I felt like I was putting out good material. And then you kind of start coasting, and then you're like, fuck it, I'm hungover, I'm not gonna write. And now I look at a screen instead of writing, and I'm like, I'm not getting anything out of this. I'm watching a fist fight and a deer getting shot or whatever. So I've tried to cut that out and just go to the writing again, or the gym, or whatever it is. I take an hour, and I go, all right, it's 1:06. I'm going to write till 2:06. And I walk and pace and talk like a psycho with a hairbrush in my hand. And if anybody saw it, I'd kill myself because it's so embarrassing. And now my lady works from home, so I have to go on the roof and do it. And every now and then I'll be on my roof of my apartment in New York and talking, and somebody will come up to, like, water the plants, and they're like, sorry, and they'll go back down the stairs backwards, and I'm like, oh, that was embarrassing, because I'm like, Uber's weird, huh? And I look like such a douche. It gets the brain flowing, and it makes your stand-up more natural sounding, I think, than if you're like, here's the setup, here's the punchline. But if you talk it out, I feel like you can find way more angles. And well, it's hard to start too, because you have to go like, what am I doing? Walk around holding a head. So you have to go, I know I'm stupid, I'm holding a hairbrush. You say dumb shit just to get you out of it and out of your head and moving on with it. Well, it's like we cope with anything else. You make a joke out of it. You try to blame it on them every now and then. But yeah, I would just go, I did a lot of apologizing, a lot of jokes, and then I would do the thing where I would pay for their dry cleaning, and I'd buy them flowers. That was like my fucking Derek Jeter. What is that? He fucked a girl and he gave her like a bag, like a goodie bag.
Oh.
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, he would give you like a bouquet and an edible arrangement and a gift bag.
That's kind of smart.
Yeah, because it also stops women from being like, you know what? He did this to me. And you're but maybe he did. Or it just stops the angry feelings of like, hey, this guy used me. Like, no, we had a great night. Here's a gift. Most were pretty forgiving. Like, obviously you have a girl like, oh, Jesus, are you fucking serious? And it's so embarrassing and you want to kill yourself. But most of them were like, it's all right. Just get out of here or whatever. Like, can you wash my sheets? And I go, sure, you got it. So it was usually pretty good, but as good as it can get. There was never like it's okay, I love piss. It was never that, obviously, but I I've bought a new couch for a lady once. I mean, I try to do my part and redeem it. If I'm really hammered, I'm like, I might wet the bed tonight. But it was all booze related.
Okay.
Because I did as a kid, I got over it, and then the blacking out would trigger it again. I never got that. Well, it's a natural thing. I get it. It's vulnerable and bloody. Oh, well, we used to go there and drink a lot and, tell ghost stories and hang out because they were pretty, vacant, obviously, at night.
Yeah.
And our cemeteries are crazy because it floods, obviously. So they build mausoleums. So we don't have graves in New Orleans. Well, they're gravestones, but they're built up. They're a little like, they're not 6 feet underground. Some are above ground and some are just like these stone blocks with a body in it because you can't, if it's coffins, they'll flop up during the floods and then they'll, scatter all over the city. That's how bad the flooding is. You've seen Katrina footage.
Right.
So we have mausoleums mostly. I was not really, our house got fucked up a little bit and we lost the car, but I was in LSU an hour away and we were fine. But my parents had to stay with us for a couple days and that was brutal. But I get what you're saying, but I do think when it hit home, that's when it really connected with them. Like I was doing the theater in New Orleans and it sold out and they were like, oh, wow, this is crazy. Like when it's in their town and they can see it with their eyes, it's not like I got into the cellar or I did this show in Poughkeepsie that went great. They're like, I don't know what that means. But when it's in the city they live in, they're like, oh, this is real. And then people are hitting them up for tickets and they're like, oh, shit, when it came home to roost.
Yeah.
And that's when they open their eyes to it. I could never go, Dad, are you proud of me?
Wait, really?
No, that would be too awkward. I'm too I don't want to make them feel weird or I don't want to feel weird. Wait, where'd you grow up? You hear that, black folk? You got off easy on that one. Yeah. I think people forget that the KKK hates Jews and Mexicans.
They hate everybody.
They hate everybody except for, I think they hate non-Catholics. Like they even hate certain white people with different religions.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, and same with the Holocaust. Holocaust had gay people. It had black people.
That's true. Jews
very
really
inclusive.
steal the
Jews steal the show with the Holocaust. Black people steal the show with the KKK. I just shot my special there.
Where?
At the Vic Theater. I love Chicago. I had the beef. I had the Primantis or whatever. Not Primanti. That's Pittsburgh.
Portillo's? Yeah.
I had that. I had this guy, Professor Pizza. He's like the Chicago staple. He came out and cooked pizza in the green room. What else did we have? We had a bunch of...
Did you have a hot dog?
Had a hot dog. Went to Lake Michigan, saw the Green River. It was during St. Patty's. I'm the only douche who filmed on St. Patty's. The crowd was hammered the whole time. Well, I'm from New Orleans. Mardi Gras is the same way.
Oh, okay.
And every tailgate, they get hammered at like 11 a.m. At the Vic, yeah. Went well. I love that town. I would put it number 3 as the best comedy city. Audience-wise, I think Denver might be number 1. Comedy Works, the Paramount, the audience there get it. And I think more specials have been shot there than anywhere else. Yeah. I did the arena there with Schumer, and that was killer. She did her special there.
Whoa.
Rogan has done a special. Dimitri Martin, Dave Attell, Greg Giraldo, Dana Gould. Like so many specials are done in Denver. I love those.
Yeah.
Those are both great. The Wilbur's great, and anything Philly I love. That's the thing about New York. It is energetic. It's great. It's fun, but it's also like that crazy gal who is fun in bed, but there's also tons of other red flags. The hobos, the kooks, the shitting, the subway's not running at the right time. You land in New York and you're like, oh, good to be home. Fuck, I can't get an Uber. Or the Uber's $800. Or I got shanked on the fucking air train. There's always something with this city. It just fucks you right in the ass. It finds a way. So it is great. It is awesome. It is culturally diverse, and we got every kind of music and food, and the city is beautiful. But it is hell in a lot of ways. It's not a natural way to live. The tiny apartments, the freezing cold, the trash piling up, the rats. There's a lot of downfall. Enjoy it while you're here. It is a great... I'm going to raise kids here, I think.
So you're here to stay.
I'm here. Yeah. I love L.A., but I love to visit. And I'd say the same with Austin. Austin is beautiful. It's great. The weather is amazing. The beach in L.A. is great, but I feel like L.A., I see through it within like a week. I'm like, all right, I'm out. I got it. I'm going back to a real city. I think the people are a little vapid. I think it's a lot of chasing celebrity and not about real. I feel like it's not about like real talent or goals. Some people have talent, but it's not about like, oh, I want to work on this art form, or I want to progress at this. It's like, I got to get a sitcom, or I got to get famous, or I got to be a TikTok, whatever. And you feel that when you meet people, and you feel like, are they looking at me or like looking through me? Then you show them, hey, this is my wife, and they go, well, she can't help me, fuck her. So then you're like, oh man, you guys aren't like real people anymore, and no one really is from there. It feels like I think LA is beautiful and has its pluses, but I do think the isolation hurts.
Yes.
The community aspect
It
of
hurts.
LA.
You're
in your car, you're in your house, you're not connecting, and because connecting takes a little bit of effort. And in LA, it's so comfortable, maybe not so much anymore, but it's so comfortable that you're like, I don't want to do that. I can go home and smoke weed.
Yes.
In my cool apartment. Yeah. I mean, how many times in LA do people go, we got to get lunch, and you never do?
Totally.
But in New York, I feel like you get the lunch. First off, I want to say your mom texted. She said this episode sucked. She said it was really sad. No. I'm all over the road. I'm going to Australia to do a bunch of gigs there. So bring it on. Love Thai and I love coffee. So yeah, MarkNormanComedy.com. I have a podcast called We Might Be Drunk and Tuesdays with Stories. And then you heard All Over the Road, which is my singular pod.
What is Tuesdays with Stories?
That's me and Joe List. We will go on the road and have adventures and then come back and talk about it on Tuesday.
Does that come out every week?
Every week.
So you have 3 podcasts that come out every week?
Yeah, it's a nightmare.